it's 2014, and I never thought I'd see the day that racing was on Good Friday. Personally, I'm against it, but Paul, you're for it, I guess.
Jockeys, they didn't have a consensus on Good Friday racing, and when you're putting on £1 million card,
who's putting on the £1 million?
Well, it's part of the Lingfield card, and that money is coming from various sources. I think the bulk of it probably does come from Arena themselves.
Yeah.
And it's part of a whole programme across the winter of upgrades to races, 50-something new Class 2 and 3 handicaps, and really, which I think was a great thing as well for the jockeys riding in the winter over here, and for owners and trainers and punters. I got sucked into betting on those races and doing my money. So it was a great thing from that perspective. We weren't happy at the PJA with the way it came about, but it's here, and it's £1 million.
When you say you're not happy, explain why.
Just because whoever was responsible for it, and you speak to different people and you get a different response as to whether it was pushed forward by the bookmaker sponsors who were sponsoring the race, or whether it was Arena's. I think ARC's original plan was for a Saturday fixture, and somehow it ended up on Good Friday. But there we go, it's there, it's done. You then look at the
jockeys increase because it's a bank holiday? Do they get any extra fees for riding on a Good Friday?
Well, this is one of our frustrations, is that we said if you're going to race on Good Friday, okay, there's £1 million, but because of jockeys' finances in particular, you know, everyone thinks jockeys get 10% of the prize money they win, which they don't. They get 7% of the advertised win fund, but they only get 3% of coming second, third, or fourth. And the cost, their expense base is huge. So your average jockey's salary a year is £30,000. But you take off a third of that for direct expenses, whether agents' fees, valet fees, and the cost of travel is huge. So we were saying that jockeys who only have 1 or 2 rides on the card, like they do in some overseas jurisdictions, should get an additional payment. Non-runners, and that's a whole different issue generally, but we should be looking at payments for non-runners. And so hopefully that's something that can come in future. But you look at, say, the Musselburgh card. Musselburgh's card has just been lifted from Saturday. So it used to be a Saturday-Sunday meeting. It's now a Friday-Sunday meeting. The Friday fixture is worth exactly the same amount of money as it was worth on the Saturday. You've now got the situation where jockeys have to drive up to Musselburgh on the Friday, go back home, drive down for a meeting probably at Nottingham for the northern-based jockeys, to then drive back up to Musselburgh on Sunday. The jockeys in the north aren't really gaining anything from it. £1 million fixture, I think it's... someone tweeted in that it's a poor card. I think it's a cracking card at Lingfield. I'm going... From
the jockey's point of view, though, is it? I mean, I have looked at the race, the jockeys there. Is it fair to say that some of the better jockeys who spent the summer in Maydown, sort of the winter in Maydown, have now come back to maybe cherry pick some of the better rides for the?
It was all, our concern was, and we'd said was that you're putting on this big day, which is great, but the jockeys that have been flogging up and down the motorways, keeping the show on the road in the winter, will miss out. And obviously, owners and trainers are going to want the best jockeys. But what's been really quite encouraging is the level of loyalty shown by owners and trainers to those jockeys that have been riding these horses that are qualified through the winter.
I noticed chaps like Luke Morris and running tomorrow. Jeff, your view on the Good Friday, going to be doing any business tomorrow?
I think it's abhorrent. The whole thing was railroaded through by Arena Racing and by the bookmakers. The casino bookmakers basically had been opening their shops on Good Friday and were looking for something to support the fact that they were opening up their shops at that time. And now we have a situation where people are basically forced to work on Good Friday. They didn't used to have to work on Good Friday. All these directors who are making these decisions and the people at the BHA who have pushed this through haven't considered the people that actually have to go out there and work for a living on that particular day. They're not getting any extra money. They're not getting 2 or 3 times salary as used to be the case. They're just basically going to have to work there for 1 time salary. And I think one of the key points about the whole thing, when you look at the finance, this whole £1 million card, which Arena Racing and Paul Bittard pushed through, was a great deal. We're going to have £1 million card. Where's this money coming from? It isn't coming from the sponsors. I mean, Ladbrokes, who did a lot of complaining about the fact that Channel 4 weren't showing this all-weather card, and why should they? Because it's basically class, 80 rated horses racing for 150,000. They didn't want to show it. Ladbrokes didn't want to be involved in the sponsorship, nor did William Hill. The only major bookmaker that's involved is Coral, who I believe are sponsoring one of the 7 races involved, and their standard sponsor, which is 32 Red, I think it's 32 Red.
Yeah, that's right.
But the problem is, where is the money actually coming to fund this £1 million card? I would, in fact, it's basically factual. Arena Racing are plundering the money from the rest of their fixtures, from the rest of their media rights and their levy in order to support...
You think it's a PR exercise to the fact that, as Paul said, Musselburgh, for example, moving their Saturday meeting to a Friday, Lingfield is just basically collecting money from other sort of fixtures
from their own program. They are this group of racetracks, the penny pinching Arena Racing, who pay an average of £600 or £700 less than, say, Jockey Club racecourses, far more responsible.
Allegedly, I should say.
No, there's nothing allegedly. It is factual. They paid £1,941 for many of the races on their programme, Arena Racing. They pay some of the lowest rates of prize money, and they're certainly well below, for example, the other major group of racecourses, which is Jockey Club racecourses, in terms of prize money. So basically the funding for this fixture is being derivated from plundering the rest of their fixture list from the media rights from the levy in order to fund this £1 million card. And I think that's abhorrent.
But, Bill?
I think there's 2 different issues you blow into this. There's Good Friday racing and there's the Lingfield Championships. I mean, for me, everyone knocks the all-weather. It's dreadful racing. There's only 11 men in a dog turn up at Lingfield on Tuesday. This has been a great initiative for me, through the winter to see these races going on, and I hope they have a really good day, and I'm sure they will. The issue of racing on Good Friday, it's absolutely right that we should race on Good Friday. If you go to... I work at Plumpton on Sunday and Monday, Easter Sunday, Easter Monday. Absolutely packed on a warm day, lots of family, and it's families going racing,
What about where they do open days? Is that going to suffer?
I bet you'll have a record crowd at Lambourne tomorrow. I mean, I go to Lambourne open day. It's a great day out, and I should probably go tomorrow. But it's not going to affect that in any great way.
But you're talking about the fact that you think you're not going to do much business on Good Friday. You've not promoted it. Is that fair to say?
As a businessman, it's likely that I will make money out of what is going on tomorrow.
You've not gone actively promoting, this is the all-weather championships.
No, I believe we have to take a stance in British racing as to not only... The percentage of all-weather racing is very much on the increase of British racing. It's unattractive to customers. Most all-weather fixtures are
but Paul would argue that the number of jockeys that he has, it gives them a living so they can go to the likes of Lingfield, Southall, Wolverhampton, Kempton, and most probably...
I'm not arguing for it to be removed.
There's an element of truth to that, but jockeys make their money from riding horses, and therefore the actual 2 figures you're looking at are the levels of prize money overall and the volume of runners. Now, you can look at the stats, and average field sizes are massively going down. The number of races that have fewer than 6 runners are massively going down. Jeff is right insofar as Arena Arc have historically not put a great deal of money in from their media rights money that they're earning. They've just signed an agreement with a prize money agreement with the Horsemen's Group, and the investment in the all-weather is absolutely welcome, and hopefully, and the proof will be in the pudding, this is a sign of things to come. I disagree. There's 1 or 2 of the races aren't as strong as I know everyone would like, but they're quality horses largely running. But
there was a time when
Friday.
Easter Sunday didn't race horse racing on Easter Sunday. Now they do that. We've only got 1 day a year now where we don't have a bet.
Well, there's 3, because the 2 days preceding Christmas. But you're right, it's 362...
Well, 2 days before might be a start for the next one, a Christmas special meeting. I mean...
we know Great Lees, haven't they come out and said they'd like to race on Christmas Eve? Yeah. And that's going to be a really interesting development over the next 2 years, with Great Lees going through the process of getting a licence to be a racetrack again, Newcastle developing an all-weather track. And
if you're talking about this, we will carry on about the size of fields, but if the race numbers are coming down, how can we cater for all these all-weather tracks? Because we've got fields of 5 or 6. Where are the horses coming from?
It's a matter of fiction. It's a matter of fiction. It's all smoke and mirrors from the British Horse Racing Authority, when in fact the numbers clearly state that we should be reducing the programme substantially. but you have two great engines driving the fixtures. You've got the BHA sitting in the middle, basically, without the backbone to say no. And in many ways, in some respects, they have their hands tied. The racetracks themselves are earning plenty of money out of the media rights, and for as long as the betting cake supports it, they will support it.
If you take 10% away of the fixture list, you lose, was it £8 million?
Yeah, and that's the problem. And I would, again, agree with Jeff largely that if you look at the figures, we don't have a horse population to support the size of the fixture list. Now, it might...
They've all been gilded.
It might be that you could adjust tiny things to improve that. So we have narrow band handicaps, which throw back to Savile's day when he brought in meritocracy. And if you widen those, could you therefore increase the field sizes of the midweek class 2s and 3s, where you occasionally, during the summer, you pop up with a good race, but the field size is 8, which will get reduced to 6 by the time self-certed non-runners come out. Because if you've got a 85, 90 rated horse to run in a £8,000 to the winner class 3 on a Wednesday, why run in that when you can wait until Saturday and race for 30 grand with the same horse? So there are those issues, but the simple fact is, with money flowing through from a volumes perspective, i.e. you get race courses being paid £8,000 a race, you do away with, 100 fixtures, the sport's doing itself out of money. And it was, of the things that Savile got wrong, and gross profits tax was a huge mistake. But the one thing he was right about was he was trying to get the race courses and the sport together to sell media rights centrally, because as soon as you put media rights with the venue, and Jockey Club, all their money goes back into the sport, but for others, and Great Lees is going to be a great example and a test of the BHA's strength, and is you go volumes and you've got race courses that are incentivised simply to put on fixtures, you're going to cause a problem, and you end up with a proper bag situation for racing, which is not a great place to be.
What we're heading towards a bags type situation with British racing, and what is being forgotten in all this thing, and I had sympathy with Simon Bazalgette's comments this morning when he talks about we mustn't forget that racing is a sport, and the bottom line is we are boring the pants. From Monday to Friday, we are often, or Monday to Thursday often, we are boring the pants off our core customers. They're not walking into betting shops and betting. They're not going to the racetracks to engage.
But you can't have quality racing every day. I mean, we've seen the instance of Newmarket this week, midweek fixture.
We are ignoring the fact that people will go and see competitive racing for sure. They will. That is a fact. They will go and see competitive racing. But in the last 5 years, 50% of the races, there's been a 50% drop in field size of 8 runners. So basically, we've gone from 8 runners to 7 runners in the last 5 years. There's been a 130% increase in races of less than 5 runners in the last 5 years. We've got the horse population, which is in actual decline. It's gone down by more than 16% drop in horse numbers. All these numbers suggests that we're going to have less competitive racing, and if the people don't want to go and see the racing, they're not going to bet on it. And racetracks derive large parts of their income from betting.
Billy?
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between poor quality and competitive racing. If you've got class 5, 6, or where the handicaps and they're competitive, people like that, people bet on that 14-runner. Most handicaps are Kempton and 10 runners plus, so they're fairly well subscribed. Not in any way supported by the figures that major independents such as myself, Star Sports, and so on are. We are finding that the current programme is putting people off betting. They're not only not going, they're not betting. They're on the decline. Most people are not interested in betting in the average all-weather fixture. It's got major integrity concerns, which is BHA accepts, but it's not prepared to do anything about.
We will carry on the subject. We're also going to go over to Tom in Twitter Corner as well, get some feedback from the audience as well. And we're going to talk about one or two other things as well, about current jockeys' welfare and things like that. But we'll be back after this short break.